Hey everyone, hope you're having an amazing day. It's Tom. Today's episode name is Secrets of Ancient Architects That Scientists Still Cannot Explain. There is difference to what conservative archaeologists and anthropologists tell us about Peru and Bolivia. There are many megalithic sites that were not created by the famous Incas or any other civilization we know. And how do I know? I searched and found the answer to this question. I have found convincing evidence to support my hypothesis, which I am now going to show you. First, the clear proof is the level of technology owned by the Incas: stone hammers and bronze chisels. The stone used in megalithic sites is much harder than the materials that make up these tools, and therefore could not be responsible for the fine craftsmanship we see. I wonder if any of the scientists tried to process andesite with bronze instruments, which has similar properties to granite. It's as if someone wants to cut a diamond with glass. This is, for example, the basalt wall of Coricancha in Cuzco. The joints are almost perfect, smooth, and straight. The wall was about 1 meter thick. The Incas simply could not create these buildings. Coricancha again. On the right you can see the fine joints, and on the left the repairs made during the Inca or possibly Spanish colonial times. The difference in the quality of work is more than obvious. Don't you think? In this photo we again see significant differences between the megalithic work in the middle and left and the Inca work on the right. The Inca work came later because it rises above and is embedded in a megalithic work. This photograph from the 1930s comes from Ollantaytambo and shows us that the Inca work has been re-added to the top and far better megalithic stone buildings. There are also special protrusions protruding from the megalithic stones, which have yet to be properly explained, but no one yet knows exactly what they used them for. And in Puma-Punku near the shores of Lake Titicaca in Bolivia, there are many shaped surfaces that are almost laser straight, as well as very complex angles that show no traces of tools. The idea that the Bronze Age Tiwanaku did this difficult work 2,000 years ago is simply ridiculous. Sacsayhuaman is a citadel on the northern outskirts of the city of Cusco in Peru, which was the historic capital of the Inca Empire. In Quechua, it means saturated hawk. The place is at an altitude of 3,701 meters, or 12,142 feet. The fortified complex is located on a steep hill overlooking the city. The dry stone walls were built without the use of mortar from huge worked stones. None of these stones are the same, and yet they fit together like Lego, and you insert a sheet of paper between the individual stones. Originally, scientists thought that the site was built by the Incas in the 15th century, especially during the reign of Pachacuti. Archaeologists discovered more ruins on the outskirts of Sacsayhuaman in March 2008 and discovered that the citadel was originally built at least by the previous Quilchi culture, so the original age remains a mystery. From the 13th century, the Incas then expanded this original building into a monumental building. After the Battle of Cajamarca during the Spanish assassination of civilians, Francisco Pizarro enters Cuzco. His brother Pedro Pizarro described what they found. I quote, "At the top of the hill, the Incas had a very strong fortress surrounded by stone walls and with two very high round towers. At the bottom of this wall, the stones were so large and heavy that it seemed impossible for human hands to place them in this place. They were so close together and so well placed that a pin could not be inserted between them." End quote. Sacsayhuaman's most famous sites are three massive walls on the terraces and a large square capable of accommodating thousands of people. There are also remains of several large structures that could be used during rituals. Some Spanish chroniclers noted that Sacsayhuaman was above all a huge temple complex, which only the Incas had the right to enter. The stones used in the construction of these terraces are among the largest found on buildings in pre-Hispanic America. They show cutting accuracy unparalleled in America. The method used to match the shape of the stone exactly with the adjacent stones has been the subject of much speculation, debate and quarrel. The various theories put forward include softening the stone with a mysterious fluid obtained from a plant, mineral decomposition from heat generated by large sun mirrors, and even an alien intervention. There is even a legend that the mountains, the earth and the wind helped carry the boulders to build the Sacsayhuaman. It almost seems that this place was built by supernatural power. Nevertheless, I would stick to the fact that the place was built by human hands, we just don't know how. One of the interesting hypotheses is also the use of sonic vibrations and sound. This precision, combined with the rounded corners of the blocks, the variety of interlocking stones, and the way the walls tilt inward, is believed to have helped the ruins survive the devastating earthquake in Cuzco. Even with strong quakes, the stones just rise and settle back in place. The walls are 6 to 8.5 meters high, and the longest of them is 400 meters. Estimates of the weight of the largest andesite blocks range from 128 tons to almost 200 tons. The weight of the newly found largest block is 360 tons, while its height is 8.4 meters. Some walls are also composed of gray limestone. Conventional archaeologists claim that a large amount of manpower was enough to move the stones, and they moved these multi-ton boulders along the logs of trees. I wonder how this is possible, because in the days when the Incas lived here, only dwarf trees grew far and wide. No large straight and strong trees as we now know from Europe that could possibly carry such weight. If someone just placed such a boulder on the dwarf trees, they would make splinters out of it, and let alone roll on them, all that would be left is wood dust. Some stones, when joined, are strikingly reminiscent of animal shapes and maybe certain types of pictograms. It is likely that the stones could have been painted to make these shapes stand out. The Spaniard used the stones from Sacsayhuaman as a source for the construction of Cuzco, and within a few years dismantled and demolished most of the complex. Today, only stones that are too large to be moved remain in place. The location and angles of the walls in Sacsayhuaman have revealed an ancient secret. The complex has a total of 9 astronomical values used to measure lunar and solar eclipses. The same can be seen in other parts of the planet and other advanced and extinct cultures. For example, the roads in front of the pyramids of Giza, the perimeter lines of the body of the Atacama giant, but also in Europe and other ancient places. New discoveries have recently been found in Sacsayhuaman. For example, the temple 500 meters from Sacsayhuaman. Inside, 11 rooms of various sizes were found, and it is believed that mummies were buried in them. A complex irrigation system with aqueducts, fountains and water reservoirs was also discovered. This system is also thought to date back to pre-Inca times. Archaeologists have used georadar scanning technology, which was developed at the Russian Institute and which has no equivalent in the world, to map the underground. This georadar makes it possible to study the geological structure of the Earth up to a level of 200 meters below the Earth's surface. It can detect water, rock formations, underground objects, and so on. Archaeological research was carried out under the arena, and several interesting underground objects were shaved. In particular, an underground tomb or unit of similar shape, which is made of 90% by hand and is not of a natural character. Furthermore, a mound pit located at a depth of approximately 2 meters and a length of up to 20 meters was detected. Remains of Inca buildings remained at the top of the hill, including the base of the 3 towers. The main tower consisted of 5 levels. The artifacts that were found in this area confirm the existence of earlier cultures that existed there centuries and perhaps millennia before the arrival of the Incas. Although some scientists do not want to admit it, it is difficult for them to imagine how the ancient Incas managed to build such simple buildings from monolithic stone blocks weighing tens of tons using the simplest tools. The entire range of work involved stonework and mines, the supply of stones over relatively long distances over several mountains, the treatment of stones on site, and finally the complex assembly of stones. The Sacsayhuaman is the most sublime, but not the only existing monument of a similar Cyclops building. In the valley where Cusco is located, other monuments have survived to this day, which include large megalithic buildings such as Machu Picchu, Ollantaytambo, etc. According to this evidence, the Incas were unable to build such huge buildings and, moreover, could not transport such blocks. The sources of the Spanish chroniclers clearly state that in the Inca era these buildings already existed. And when they asked the Incas if they had built them, they replied that they were not their ancestors. I do not understand that even after this testimony, scientists still claim the same. So who and when was able to build such monuments? Modern science has no information about the civilizations that existed in this area before the Incas and which would be more advanced than the Incas. Many scientists, usually unrelated to academia, believe it was created by an unknown ancient megalithic civilization, while the Incas came to the area last. This hypothesis is supported by other archaeological facts, which primarily deal with the technology of stone processing in antiquity. At the foot of the Great Walls of Sacsayhuaman lay a huge square, which I have already mentioned. In ancient times, it was completely filled with various temples and residential buildings, which the Spaniards later dismantled. On the opposite side of the walls of Sacsayhuaman, the square is bounded by the rocky ridge of Sacsayhuaman Hill. On the slopes of this hill, in a very solid formation, various stairs and niches are carved. See for yourself. The quality of the work done is so high that it is impossible to imagine that it was done using stone or bronze tools. In addition, there are no valid hypotheses regarding the purpose of these architectural structures. For example, the so-called throne of the Incas, which is still in a quarry far from Sacsayhuaman, is turned upside down and has 2 layers of diorite steps. These are smoothly polished platforms intersecting strictly perpendicularly, which have suffered virtually no damage for centuries or even millennia. It should be emphasized that the strength of diorite is higher than that of basalt and requires very laborious processing. Diorite has even greater bolt density and compressive strength than granite. In addition, on the eastern slope of the hill, strange cut tracks were discovered in the diorite rock. Along the crack that appeared as a result of the disintegration of a large piece of formation, traces of a saw were cut by an unknown tool. The incision was 1 to 2 centimeters deep and several meters long. For modern man, such a footprint would be a sign of using a circular saw. However, it cannot be assumed that ancient Peruvian designers used such tools. In 2003, Spanish archaeologist Anselm Payaramba discovered underground tunnels connecting Sacsayhuaman with the center of Cusco. One reportedly leads to Coricancha, which was the most important temple of the Inca Empire. One tunnel was dug at a depth of about 100 meters underground and was about 2 kilometers long. The Spanish soldier and writer Garcilaso de la Vega mentioned the underground city, which was the capital of the Inca Empire and which consisted of a labyrinth of galleries, underground temples and depositories. During the dismantling of the Sacsayhuaman structures, the Spaniards also dismantled the walls of the underground tunnels, which they reached, and which were covered with stone blocks. In the middle of the last century, various entrances to this underground city were discovered. Several enthusiasts who dared to break in were lost. After this accident, all known entrances were walled up by order of the authorities. Only one of the tunnels, which is a short route, is open to the public. Many scientists came here on expeditions to look for the mythical treasures of the Incas, which, according to legend, were hidden here during the Spanish conquest and were stored in underground tunnels under Cusco. Yet what I have now told you is far from all the secrets that were given to us by the mysterious architects of ancient Peru. Most likely we will never know how forts like Sacsayhuaman were built. There just isn't enough evidence you should know. Although, as they say, hope dies on last place. The only thing we have to remember when looking at incredible structures like Göbekli Tepe, Sacsayhuaman or the pyramids is that the ancients were not just cave people. They were no less intelligent than we were. They were humans, just like us, and incredibly resourceful, and advanced enough to create vast monuments of engineering with primitive technology that we, with all our computers, microchips, and science, still can't understand. I agree with Brian Forrester's claim that the Sacsayhuaman was built thousands of years before the Inca civilization, as were many other buildings in South America. These buildings had to be built here by a very old civilization that understood and used vibration-generating resonance. Perhaps these ancient builders also understood magnetism and the use of sound. In other words, it is a lost ancient advanced technology. And even is possible that they know how to cast this stone to some kind of molds. Thanks for watching this video, and if you like it, please remember to give it thumbs up. Leave comment below, I'd love to read from you. And if you're not subscribed, click subscribe and also click the little bell icon so you'll immediately get notified of the next video that I publish. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you on the next video.